Okay, here we are. Episode 4 of Sent to the Office,
Yep.
otherwise known as Adventures of Tremendous Fat Ass. Welcome, Dan. I appreciate you being here with your Zero Pomeranian.
Oh, my
Given.
shirt?
Yeah,
Yeah.
is that what that is? I mean, I don't understand it. Zero, that's a Pomeranian, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fox, actually.
It's a fox. We had a fox that was living across the street, and people didn't believe it. But then I got a video of it. I'm not really
Oh,
sure.
yeah, you put it on Facebook.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. So we wonder what
Well,
happened to him.
this is the time of year when, people are wearing their team's colors.
And
They're-
that's your
they're
team color
flying their
right there?
flags,
Okay.
which team they've invested all their emotion in.
Okay.
But, yeah, this is mine.
That's what you, yeah. We tried to dim the studio because I don't know if you can see this from here with the lights down, but Dan got his ass kicked. If you really look, I don't know how big a girl she was, but she.
How do you know? Maybe I kicked somebody's ass, and in the process,
Okay.
my face got all scuffed up.
They
How about
they
that?
look worse.
Like, yes,
Okay.
I smashed my face against the mat quite a few times.
Okay.
Really.
All right.
Getting
Well,
after it.
it's just jealousy that's because you actually go out and do things that are healthy and to try to
I don't know.
get in
about
shape.
healthy.
And I'm in shape, but it's more like oval is the shape
Yeah.
I'm in. So, but I can't really tell it with the lights down. But there's
You just
definitely
needed
some
to
marks.
point it out, though.
Yeah, I want to make sure that
Okay.
we pointed out. So Dan's got his Pomeranian shirt on.
Yes.
And he's got his ass
Rooting
kicked.
for my team.
But our technical engineers, Cade and Beck Schutte, who I want to thank for
Yes.
doing all this, set all this up. And then our new makeup person really kind of made sure that those marks aren't that clear.
Okay, I'll say it. We spent like 10 minutes at least trying to figure out why Joel's voice was so much louder than mine, thinking it was the equipment. And then we're like, oh, yeah, he's deaf. He talks really loud. So I'm going to try and step it up a little bit here.
I tend to talk loud because I am deaf. And it's okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, we kind of figured that part out. So.
All right, let's go.
Let's do it. Yeah, we're ready to rock episode 4. Want to thank everyone who's been following our podcast. It's been fun.
All 4 of them.
All 4 of them. I got to say that our listenership has dwindled just a bit from a max of 500 and whatever episode 1.
300 of those, Joel, were me. I just
Probably.
I did. Like, I didn't sleep for 3 days. I just wanted to.
Every 5 minutes.
I thought maybe if I got some momentum. No, I'm just kidding.
I guess I didn't understand that every time I refreshed that, it was a new view. I'm like, oh, somebody else is watching.
I'm going, yes, Joel.
Yeah, I just didn't get it. But
Well, I'd like to think that it doesn't. Maybe it's not one that needs to reach tons and tons of
No.
people, just the right people.
no.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
And you know what? And I don't want to make it about me or sound selfish, but this has been good for me. It gives me some direction.
Yeah.
It gives me something to occupy my mind with. Oh, that would be good for the podcast, or this would be good.
Yeah.
And but we still had. Now it's on different platforms. It's on YouTube with video.
Mm-hmm.
It's also on, the Anchor platform. It's got it on Spotify, and now I'm at the top end of my technical expertise. I don't even understand what any of that means. So,
But it is a good outlet for you, and
Right.
that. The first week, I have a crew class where we can teach whatever we want, and the first crew I do, everybody in the room will say why they chose to come to the harbor. What brought them there, and something they get out of it. And I do that because I want to make sure everybody knows it is a choice.
right.
And then the new people can hear the veterans say something that they get out of it,
Sure.
including myself. And my thing this week was a lot of free therapy because we talk about so much
Right.
important stuff, and it's good for me too.
Right.
So,
Right.
so first week of school went great.
Okay.
I think you coming and talking to them was like that needs to be a thing. Maybe not you each year, but something.
Okay.
In the past, we've had some pretty powerful expert speakers, or just people come from the outside tend to the kids tend to listen to.
Right.
Especially when it's real.
Yeah.
Another one, Jamie Ross came one time.
Okay.
She's with the Domino Effect. It's this program with the prison system.
Right.
But she talked to the students about, what happened, her choices to get to prison, and how she's a different person now. It's just real. And
Our lighting crew.
that was the cat.
Yeah,
Dude.
the cat did that. The cat.
But anyway, yours was real too,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, and I think that's what really gripped them. And then this week with that crew, it was real. And then we went to Meals from the Heartland Friday.
Which is
you
always a
know.
great experience.
Yeah, good
Right.
team activity,
Yep.
and it was just a perfect week. And you know what put a nice little ribbon on it for me? And this is why I know it's going to be a great year. I always wait for them all to get off the bus if we go somewhere, and then I go pick up all their gum wrappers, scrap pieces of paper,
Beer bottles.
all their shit. And this time, first time ever, no garbage.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I was real
That's
happy.
great. Yeah, coming back to talk, I know we mentioned in the last episode, but it felt weird because, well, for the first time, none of the students knew me.
Oh yeah,
I've been gone that long.
yeah.
It's coming up on 3 years since I've been in the office,
Wow.
and so that felt weird. And I know
Well-
this is going to surprise you. I'm not a natural speaker.
Oh yeah.
I get very uptight. It's never easy for me to do
I
this.
can't imagine there's too many people out there that are just really, I think
I know
that's
a few
all up.
that you can just plug them in and say go, and they feel great.
Yeah.
But for me, it was, what am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
What would happen if they don't like what I'm saying? And because I didn't know any of the students, that was a difference for me. And they didn't know me,
Yeah.
and so, but
Well, I think that's probably what made it better then.
really,
Because, I don't know. They didn't know you compared to your principal comes in.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the students, when you were the principal, like when you were in the room, we were usually making fun of you.
right. Right.
Because that was kind of my thing.
Sure,
So.
of course.
But anyway.
Behind my back, because I can't hear.
I thought about something this week, though. Last time, or last podcast, I think you said when school starts now,
Yeah.
since, you haven't been there for 3 years now, that it feels like something's not
Something's
right.
missing. Yeah.
Yeah, Samantha left for college.
Okay.
And I knew I was going to miss
Your
her.
oldest daughter,
My
Samantha,
oldest
for
daughter.
people that don't,
Yep. And I didn't know it was going to feel like that, like physically, like physically at night when I'm doing my perimeter security check, checking the tripwires and the
make sure-
claymores
right,
and
right. Make sure all your guns are loaded.
whoa.
Oh,
Easy.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, like a physical feeling. So
Something
and-
seemed like it was missing because Samantha
Yeah,
is
and
two
I
and a half
know
2.5 hours away.
a lot of our friends are going through the same kind of feeling.
Right.
And even before that, some friends I have that had their child leave for college said, "Are you ready for it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What you talking about?"
Right.
It's,
Right.
but yeah, wow.
It's a weird feeling. Jory, our oldest, has been out of the house for 8 years now, and it felt very empty in the house when she left. And and to her credit, she hasn't been back. I mean, not like of course she comes back to visit, but she left right after high school, and she's been on her own ever since. And of course, very proud of that. But our doors are always open if she needs something. But it's an empty,
Yeah.
odd feeling when. But I mean, her room wasn't empty for very long because Quinn made sure she got in there within 5 minutes. I don't even think Jory was out of Pleasant Hill proper, and Quinn was already in her room and
Ripping up her
and
posters.
the boys were already, because the boys had shared a room up until that point. They were already separating. Yeah, they had bunk beds and everything,
I know, I
buddy.
did that last time.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a weird feeling, man. It's been 3 years, and I kind of got out before I was ready to get out, and so I'm still a young man, even though I've got a big birthday
Yeah.
coming up soon.
Yeah.
So yeah, this time of year, it's very weird. You know, everybody's going back to school. My kids are going to school. None of my friends are. They're all working, and I'm no longer. You know, for 39 years, I went to school on the first day of school, and now I'm not doing that. And it's getting easier, but it's still kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
Well, you know me well enough that it's probably not a surprise, but a big part of why I wanted you to get this going was, you need something.
right,
You
right.
know, and that's everybody.
right,
We talk a lot about happiness in my classes and literally study it. I have a couple of classes I've taught using the book Project Happiness, but a big part of our happiness is waking up and having a purpose.
Right.
So
right. And that that's a struggle, man. It has been a struggle, and it's getting better. But when I was 47 years old, and suddenly I'm not going to the office, and I'm not helping kids, and I'm not a part of a team, and then all the while, my wife is getting up and going to work every day, and my friends are getting up to go to work every day, and my kids are getting up and go to school. It was pretty empty, man. It was like, what is my purpose now?
yeah,
I for all those years I had one, and that's not something that's very easy to discover
yeah,
once it's kind of been yanked out from under you a little bit. It's not like I had a role in it, obviously, but it was not something that I wanted to have happen, to have to
Yeah.
leave the job early, and I had a good 10 years left. So it's been a struggle to, I know people that have retired recently,
Yeah.
and they've had time to prepare, and they have time to think about what their next step is going to be, and they probably already have friends that are retired. And so, not that I'm saying that it's ever easy. Some people really struggle with it,
Yeah.
But it was, there's some dark times there, man,
I
where
think
I was
a
trying
lot
to
of
figure out
people
what
struggle.
what my next move was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There were some windows in my life where I felt that,
Yeah.
between being at Dell and then I opened up that business cartridge world. There was a window in there where I was questioning, what am I supposed to do? And that's
Right.
the worst feeling.
Right.
But
Right.
I think I think too many people out there just, they don't put a check on it. Like, the question in my classroom on the board, what do I want? What am I doing? And do they match? And
Okay.
it's like they just go through
Right.
their day and all of a sudden they're like, man, what am I doing here?
Right.
Well,
what if they can't answer the first question? Because that's what I was dealing with for, immediately after leaving. I didn't know what I wanted,
yeah,
and if you don't know, if you can't answer that question, you can't answer the second question,
right.
And now, and this has helped occupy my mind and give me something to think about, and
Right.
it's definitely something that I enjoy doing, and enjoy getting feedback, and we've gotten a lot of feedback, and but I think it's just another step in the process of trying to reinvent who I am, because for a long time I was, Joel the counselor, Joel the harbor principal or whatever, and and as a male in society, we tend to hold on to those labels pretty tightly.
Yeah.
And when they're gone, then what do you what then? Females do too. I'm not saying that, but
Right.
there's so yeah, this has been great for me. Maybe I'll come back and speak to students. I don't think they give a shit because they don't know who I am. But you said that
Absolutely.
you said it was good, and
Yeah.
and allegedly my friend that joined us was a star.
Yes.
He may or may not. I may or may not have had a guest with me. So,
Hey, by the way, I haven't gotten a check. Like, that I'm supposed to get a check, right?
You're supposed to get a check.
We put it on YouTube.
right.
Where's my
No
check?
check yet.
Where's my
I know.
check, man?
Yeah, I know. That's what I heard. 500 or I don't know. Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. So yeah, it was a school's in full swing, man. Went to the first varsity football game.
Yes.
And unfortunately, Southeast Polk came out real strong, but couldn't hold on against a very good Valley team. Went to the game with my cousin, who is my age. He grew up on the South Side, Lincoln guy. We kind of started talking about, there's a discussion going on about how sports classifies, by school, and right now is by student population. The bigger schools, they're in class 4A, and the discussion is, should there be a consideration for socioeconomics? Because right now, the five Des Moines schools, Lincoln East, North, Hoover, Roosevelt, haven't won a game in 5 years against Southeast Polk Valley, Dowling, Johnston, Urbandale, Waukee.
Damn.
And I went to Lincoln and we won a few games, but generally,
And what is causing that? You're saying?
well, I think it's the discussion is whether or not the resources or lack thereof causes a discrepancy in the ability to put a product out on the field. And I feel as soon as I read it, it was just like, oh my God, yes, this is exactly what we need to be talking about.
Very ignorant on this.
No,
so
yeah,
I'm literally sitting here picturing better helmets or pads.
Well,
Like, how's that going to make you win? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was talking with my cousin, like I said, who, sent his kids to Lincoln, and he's been on the South Side pretty much his whole life. And he was pretty surprised, when I said, Southeast Polk not only has a turf football field, they have a turf youth football field, artificial turf. They have a turf baseball field where football players go to practice. And I'm picturing my days back playing football at Lincoln High School when we had a grass field and we were cracking up over. I don't know if you've seen the Lincoln football field, but I don't know if it's still this way, but it is bowed in the middle so high. I mean, you could sled down. It's ridiculous. I don't know if they fixed it, but the sidelines are tiny. It's a grass field.
It's only been about 3 decades. I'm thinking,
it's been about 3 decades.
Probably got fixed.
Right.
But
the grass by game 3 is completely gone.
Back to how this affects a football team.
Well, it affects it because, I can just tell you from my own experience with my 2 boys that Cade graduated last year, played varsity football, back to 9th grader. They have all the equipment they could ever want. I've sent them to camps. They don't have to worry so much about a part-time job that they can't go to the summer football activities. These are things that kids from
so it's
Des
not
Moines,
what you're describing isn't so much the school; it's more from
right. But it's both. It's both.
Right.
The thing that I pointed out to my cousin Eric was, Cade played 11 years of tackle football. Mm-hmm. I signed him. I'm a bad parent. I signed him up in 2nd grade to play because Southeast Polk doesn't play till 3rd grade. I signed him up in the Des Moines League because he was ready to play. But anyway. Every year he played in the Southeast Polk League,
he was ready.
They played fundamentally the same offensive scheme and the same defensive scheme from the time they started as 8-year-olds until varsity. Okay, you can't. That's huge.
Yeah,
because
huge. That's
huge. Because I look back at my varsity or my Lincoln High School football experience. The first time I played ever played football was 9th grade. I'd never put a helmet on. 9th grade, and in 4 years of high school football, I ran 3 different offenses, completely different. And here we're playing against schools that are running the same thing from the time you're 8.
They build the program like a college,
yeah,
right?
and it is night and day difference. There's a culture of some schools have a culture of winning, and some have a culture of losing, frankly. And when you're a team that loses 8 or 9 games a year, the first bad thing that happens in a football game, well, here we go again.
Yeah.
It's time to, So anyway, it was an interesting conversation from the perspective of my cousin who he seemed to agree that it makes sense because from a resource standpoint, they don't, the South Side, East Side, North Side, they don't have the resources to compete against, Southeast Polk and Johnson and Urbandale and Dowling and all those. It's hard to admit that.
Yeah.
But,
because it's pride or.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some Southsiders might be listening to this and spit on that. You know, oh well, you know, it's not toughness. It's a matter of, you know, how much preparation and how many resources do we have to draw from to put that product out on the field versus what those other schools have.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes those big schools only can put out 25 kids.
Well, you know what Marcellus Wallace said about pride,
I do.
and I'm not going to say it.
I think we all. Well,
Okay, so
Beck, yeah. Beck
that's
can
a good
bleep
point.
whatever, you know. So.
That's a good point.
But anyway, I know, you know, that might be a boring topic to some, but it's interesting to me, you know, because any topic that you're talking about socioeconomics and kids, yeah, all right, it's interesting to me because I think there's
Yeah.
a lot. So anyway, but
Yeah, and it's probably that way in all kinds of extra curricular.
Oh,
activities,
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
band, everything,
Absolutely.
So.
Yep. You know, you think about a school like Lincoln High School that has 2,500 kids. You know, and I want to see Lincoln win, man. I'm a rail splitter, even though I'm a Ram. I'm a rail splitter, and it's hard to see them just not able to be competitive year after year.
What are they called?
A rail splitter,
What's that mean?
Dan. I don't know, Dan.
You don't know?
I'm just kidding. Abraham Lincoln, he split rails. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. They're the rail splitters.
That'll be an answer for episode 5.
You had an email from Josh.
Josh Dean. Yep, I did. Yeah, let me get to that because Josh Dean sent us an email asking. Oh, and I better get my glasses on here. Okay, he wants to know, can you give some advice on how you guys deal with burnout as educators? I know tons of teachers, myself included, who struggle with it at various times throughout their careers, and I'm sure that this transcends reaching, he might have meant teaching, and also occurs in other professions. Just curious to get your perspective.
I can tell you right now what the answer is not. Hookers and below. That's not it.
can try
right
that.
there.
It's a
Now,
temporary
if you're
solution.
really looking long term,
Right.
yeah, it's tricky.
Right.
I think not just for teachers, you know, who deal with the at risk. I mean, any profession that you have the potential of taking it home with you, you know,
Right.
and that's where it can get tricky because
Yeah.
it's like if you can't just shut it off
Right.
and have the wall up there, so.
Yeah, you know, teaching is an interesting one, and it doesn't have to be alternative ed. It doesn't have to be traditional ed. I think a big part of the burnout that a lot of us are feeling has to do with kind of how society views public education these days. You know, just a few, decades ago, it was a profession of honor, and it's not that way anymore. It is.
No one has said that to my face.
No one has. Well,
Wait, people are saying this? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
people.
I know what you mean.
I mean,
though.
when you get
It's
on the
been like
internet,
that for a while.
it
I feel
has
like.
been, and it's getting worse. You know, when you look at news sites, any story about public education is a bad one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a teacher doing something bad to a kid, or a student getting his rights or her rights trampled on, or and it has I think it just has a long-term effect on the overall perception of public education.
Yeah.
And now it's no longer, or not as much, a profession of honor, and that has an effect on you as a teacher.
Yeah.
It's
It's pretty far away, I'm sure, from how most cops feel
Yeah.
today.
But that's a good-
in that same realm.
That's a good
you know what I
comparison,
mean?
man. Those are two professions. When you read the news or watch the news, law enforcement and public education. First, those stories are popular stories. People will click on those stories,
Yeah.
and they're always negative.
I felt that way when, just the whole bully craze, where bullying, everything was
Yeah,
bullying,
right.
and there was this perception out there that teachers don't care and
They're
we
not
just
doing anything.
let it happen
Right,
and all
right.
that, and I was like, "Are you serious?"
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's frustrating. I know in the years that I dealt with bullying, I would estimate 9 out of 10 of the bullying accusations were conflicts.
Yeah.
There were student conflicts that escalated and got out of control.
And still needed intervention.
They still need an intervention, and sometimes one or both students need an
but we
administrator to step
didn't
in.
necessarily need a crucifixion.
Right. And but I get it. I'm a parent, and if you as a parent, if you feel like something bad is happening to your child, it's a very emotional situation. But
Little flower.
right, but that kind of drives the hysteria, and you get two students who are. And of course, social media is just terrible for that. They're going back and forth at each other, and then one of them goes over the line and does something really bad.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, hey, I'm getting bullied here.
You know what pissed me off, actually, now that I think about it at that
What's that?
time? Would be when there'd be either on the news or a parent going off on social media about how something or other happened and the school did nothing.
Right. Nobody did anything.
And legally, it's not like the school can say, here's what we did.
Right.
And they
Right.
never
Right.
explain that.
Those are all single source stories. Every time you hear that on the news or read about it on a website, it is a single source story. It comes from the student and the parent or both. And what can the school say? The school can't say anything. FERPA, the federal law, FERPA restricts what schools can say about a certain issue. So we asked the school for comment, and they declined to comment. Well, of course they declined to comment because they can't, and that just makes it look even worse.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
pretty
and then
frustrating.
it's like, somebody says if people are saying it, it must be true.
Right.
Right.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it's I guess that's one one thing that I'm glad that I'm not a part of anymore, because those were frustrating. I didn't get into education.
So back to the burnout thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
You got to take care of yourself. You have to try to separate. This is going to sound really dumb, but you have to try to separate your work life from your private life.
Josh, I'm rolling my eyes too.
Yeah, no, which, of course, right.
Yeah.
But part of the reason, knowing Josh the way I know Josh, and you know Josh,
Yeah.
part of the reason he's asking this is Josh is a big-hearted guy, and he cares about his kids, and sometimes you see bad things happen to kids, and
Right.
and you care about them, and that just that hurts you.
Well,
And-
it's like, how do you get your heart broken a lot?
Yeah,
And
right.
so, but how do you still keep caring so much? You
Right.
know. And my advice is just to really put your energy into the wins, because there's plenty of them out
focus
there.
on the wins.
Yeah.
Right. And
Hey,
that's
speaking
maybe-
of wins, that's a perfect place. Thank you, Caitlin Carnahan,
Yeah.
for hooking us up
Yes.
with a website
Yes.
and
Yes.
helping us out. Previous Harbor student, of course.
Yeah, Caitlin is great. She set up a website, settotheoffice.com, on her own without even being asked to do so.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's really awesome. And she also sent an email that I wanted to read.
I am so ADHD.
Are you okay, man?
Anybody watching this is like, why can't he just sit still?
Yeah. It happens.
Maybe I'll get a bouncy ball to sit on. Seriously.
should.
I have a couple in my classroom. I've
should.
used them with students, because if they are ADHD
Yeah.
and they're not medicated,
Right. That
if
kinetic
they're on that
energy
board,
kind
they-
of gets
they can
satisfied.
be hopping around,
Right.
and now they're getting that stimulus so they can actually listen to what you're saying.
Right.
It's
Sorry about-
annoying as hell, but
Yeah.
it
man.
works.
The coughing, sorry. I got
Oh, you're still dealing with that pneumonia.
atypical pneumonia, Dan. 2 months now, bro. 2.5 months.
Sounds weird.
I
dude.
know. I don't know what that is, but okay. This is from Caitlin Carnahan, former student. I would never rank students that I've had over the years as far as have a list of favorite students.
Oh, we
If
all
I
have favorites.
if I did,
He does.
Caitlin would be on that
Yeah,
short
me
list.
too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. She says, "Greetings, tremendous fan." Hey guys, I have a story to share, a question to ask, and a present for you. It says, in quotations, what a teacher is more important than what he teaches. And that's from Carl Menninger. Very good, Caitlin. Nice attention-getting
Yep.
lead. I wonder what English teacher taught her. There you go. She says, I could talk all day about everything I learned under your tutelage, but this one story in particular that significantly impacted my life 5 years ago. I was 3/4 of the way through my senior year. So at the Harbor, we're on a quarter system, not semesters. So she had just completed
I'm
her
still thinking about the word tutelage.
tutelage.
Yeah.
Do you need me to tell you what that
I'm
means?
just trying to. No, I'm just wondering if she got the thesaurus out for that.
No, Caitlin's a bright girl. I
I
bet
like
she
it.
knows that word and a
Tutelage.
lot of other words.
Tutelage.
Tutelage. That's a good
I'm
word.
gonna use that.
Okay, well, she was
Okay.
she had just completed the third quarter out of 4 her senior year,
Yep.
and she found out that she would be graduating early, so she was going to be graduating before fourth quarter. She said I was supposed to be leaving about a week after I discovered the news, so she didn't know that she had actually qualified to graduate until
I
about a
remember
week
this.
before the end of the
I
third
remember
quarter.
this. She
While
was,
most students would be ecstatic to kiss high school goodbye, I was devastated. Going to school was the only consistency I had in my life at that point, and I actually emailed Joel practically begging me begging him to let me stay. The fact of the matter was that there would be too many new students joining and there wasn't enough space to keep me on, and really no point. I had all my credits. Sitting in class, not being my chipper self, Dan pulled me aside. I don't know what all happened or what great lengths either of you had to go through, but Dan went to bat for me and made it possible for me to stay another quarter. You'll never know how much I truly appreciated and needed it. Listening to your podcast reminds me of being in Dan's room over lunch while you two jabbered away. Oh, I've probably said a few inappropriate things around her, but Caitlin always can handle that stuff. So it reminds me of the good old days and how I was truly blessed with the best teachers and principal while attending the Harbor. I also love this podcast because of the amount of swearing that goes on.
Jeez. Oh. I know
we
why.
kept it clean, man, in school.
Tried.
Generally. We tried to. I will never forget the time I said the F word accidentally in front of Dan and was so
yeah.
embarrassed.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so she has 2 questions for us. Professional. What made you want to get into education?
Hold
Okay.
up. Can I just tell the story about when she said the F word?
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
it's pretty
absolutely.
funny.
Yeah.
Caitlin, she can and is a very sweet girl, right? But she has another side, and I hadn't seen it.
Okay.
And she came in, and I guess she sat in the same place all the time, or maybe she had put her stuff there and then left. But she came in and didn't know I was in the room. And the biggest kid in the Harbor, I don't remember his name, it's probably best I don't say it, was sitting there in her spot. And she came walking in and goes, "Oh, no, get the out of my seat." Or no, she said, "Oh, hell no, get the out of my seat."
I don't know that I like that story. I've never heard Caitlin
I
talk
go-
like that.
"You think you know someone?" And she goes, "Oh, sorry, Dan." It's great. She made the quote board for
Yeah,
that.
I bet she did. Okay, so what made you want to get into education, Dan? She wants to know.
Oh, me? I don't know.
Because you can't sing or dance?
I mean, honestly, in the beginning, it's hard to say because that was so long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm originally elementary certified. I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but and my great grandmother was a teacher. Like, yeah,
Okay.
way back when they had the one-room schoolhouse.
Yeah, right, right.
So honestly, though, I think it was when we met through our wives, and then I started doing some subbing at the Harbor, and just saw opportunity.
Yeah, right.
You know, because everybody on some level goes into teaching because they want to improve people's lives.
Sure.
And I'm sure we all do in some form or fashion, but being at the Harbor, you have an opportunity to see it, to manifest.
Right.
Whereas along the way, they may not see it as much because they're planting seeds or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, it's
Okay.
it's that's definitely it for me
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I
Seeing
was similar. I wanted to help kids. I knew Upward Bound helped me get through high school, go to college. But as you well know, Dan, I never spent a single second as a teacher, um, except for my student teaching experience, and I was the world's worst student teacher.
Yep. That's why I never wanted to hear it.
Yeah,
Tell me what to
and,
do.
you know, I
I'd say,
got to tell
hey,
you.
how about you go tell Picasso how to paint while you're at it?
Yeah,
there,
you know,
Joe?
I always felt, you know, whenever I did a teacher evaluation, that was always part of the conversation. I just want you to know that I never spent a single second as a teacher. So if I see something that I think you can improve upon, I'll let you know. But otherwise, I mean, come on, what am I going to say? So, yeah, but that's why. I mean, you know, I was helped and I wanted to help others. So
And back to Josh's burnout thing. Yeah, you got to have something out there to have an outlet, you know.
Right.
And whether it's writing, singing,
Sure.
working out, you got to have that something.
Yep.
You know.
Okay, her second question, she wants to know how we became friends. It was something that just kind of happened through the harbor.
No.
Yes. You said
Yes. We went at the same time. We said the opposite.
no. I know. That's weird. That's weird. It wasn't originally through the harbor, but that's kind of how it.
Yeah.
Progressed.
I'm trying to think if I liked you before I went to the harbor. I think I did because we were going camping and stuff together.
We were camping before the harbor?
Yes.
See, my memory is horrible.
It really sucks.
Yeah, my memory is
It's
so
horrible.
bad. Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm with Lenny in Of Mice and Men, and he's just like, tell me about the rabbits.
But it's kind of the
And I'm
opposite.
George.
But it's kind of
and,
the
like,
opposite. I look like Lenny, but you act like Lenny. So yeah, no, I can't. Yeah, I can't always remember stuff. But it mainly started because you know our wives were co-workers,
Yeah.
and that kind of was the impetus.
I don't
behind
remember
lot.
a magic moment where it was like, ah.
Yeah, I don't know.
We
If,
are
I don't know
not
if our,
friends.
our listeners are ready for. You know. So, but okay. So thank you for the email
Yes.
and the questions, Caitlin.
And the website.
The website's phenomenal. Okay, and then one final question. I want to make sure that I address all of these. Diana first
All two of them.
implores. We had three, bro.
Oh.
She implores us to change the email address. Remember, if you have an email or if you have a question for the podcast, tremendousfatass@gmail.com. She doesn't like that email address. She thinks it's self-deprecating, which of course it is, and that's the whole point. But she wants to know, kind of a piggyback on the Upward Bound program that I've already talked about. She wants me to describe the safety nets put in place for the kids heading to college through Upward Bound. Study groups, study skill lessons, financial aid workshops, job placement counseling. Yes, Diana, all of those things. And that is just more reasons why the Upward Bound program is phenomenal. Unfortunately, they are cutting funds all the time to the program. But Upward Bound not only helped me get through high school, it paid for all my college applications. It paid for me to take the ACT. It scheduled the ACT. I didn't even know what I was doing when I showed up for the ACT, but they
Were you
told me
sober?
they told me to be there at a certain time, and I was, and I had a pencil, and I was ready to go. And then when I got to college, they had study groups, and they had a student support services, which was a kind of a social network. So yeah, I can go on and on and on about the Upward Bound program. I think it's phenomenal, and it's still available to students, but unfortunately, not to as many schools. Southeast Polk used to have access to the Upward Bound program, but because of funding issues, they had to pull our school from the contract. So, but yeah, great question, and I owe everything to Upward Bound. It's great. So, I love it.
Cool.
All right. Not as much funny stuff this time, Dan. Maybe next time.
I'll tell a funny story.
Okay, yeah, I want to hear it.
And it's funny, and it's also kind of makes fun of your fat.
Okay.
No, we were talking about Cozumel.
Yeah, yeah.
And how, we went snorkeling and on a boat.
This was the same trip where I got Paco. So
Yes.
this is a piggyback on.
Yes, on that.
In comedy, this would be called a callback.
Okay, this is a
Okay.
callback.
Yep.
And so we're out there on the reef. Like, it is awesome. but someone didn't really want to get in the water because he was freaked out by the fish.
I have a little bit of anxiety when it comes to those things and many other things.
And that's fair. I just knew that if I could get you out there, you would see the beauty of it, you know?
And I think, to be fair, Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt your story, but I want you to be aware that the movie Jaws came out when I lived in Mississippi on the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't know how old I was, 9. What year did Jaws come out? 77, 78?
No idea.
And so that ruined the ocean for me. It ruined it. So I just want you to, I wanted to frame the story in the context of
Okay,
Jaws.
so I get Joel to, come down on the ladder, and he's like putting his face in the water because we're snorkeling.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. And I start getting them away a little further. Then I go,
I'm deep, man. I got down in the water, man.
Yeah.
I was starting to really enjoy it.
$10 will get you pretty far.
$10 will
Mexico.
get you a scoop of chum.
And what it got, no, he threw the whole bucket. I got the captain of the boat because we were also fishing to chuck what was left of the chum right in the vicinity of Joel. And whoosh, it was awesome, like a whole cloud of fish. And I could,
Yeah,
I
it was
could
really
hear
awesome, Dan.
Joel underwater. And it's flippers. It was like you were.
I
Oh, and that's
screamed
what was
I
funny.
screamed
is
underwater.
You're a large man. I used the word fat. You're not fat. You're beautiful.
Big bone, bro.
But this guy levitated on the water. It was like in cartoons. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was 1,000 fish suddenly swimming toward me as fast as possible.
I thought you would
I
like
had
it.
no idea why. And yeah, I nearly had a heart
I
attack.
thought you would like it
You
because
thought I would like it.
Well, I
you thought
need-
that. That thought, you really thought, you know what?
Looking
Joel,
back on
who's
it-
having a borderline panic attack, would love all 1,000 fish suddenly
well, I
swimming
knew
toward
you
his
weren't
face.
going to go out to the actual, where they all were, and so I was like, let's get some fish over here, But then once it's like, I immediately knew this is going bad. But then I was seeing the comedy, and I could hear you cussing underwater.
Yeah, I was pissed. I was so mad when I figured out what it was. And our 90-year-old Mexican boat captain was flashing
He made
all 4 of his teeth. That guy was super old. He was super old.
he made a dope guacamole dip, though, bro.
He sure did. He sure did.
Man. All right.
All right, so podcast number 4 in the books. It's work in progress. And so remember to email us if you have some questions.
Yeah,
or
if you don't
comments.
like it, ask some questions or tell us something.
Yeah. Or you
Or
could go
You
yourself.
could go yourself.
You could do that.
All right.
So, all right,
That's it.
thanks.